Time with the markets with Leighton, and a lot of traders, Leighton, you say, were positioning themselves ahead of the June 30 reports.
That's right, and now that those numbers are out, we're going to find out how the new numbers are going to impact supply-demand longer term. Also had a larger U.S. hog herd may hurt producer prices in the pork sector as U.S. catfish prices at the pond bank continue to climb. Thursday morning, the acreage and grain stocks reports from the USDA came out. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley has been poring over the numbers during the 3 hours between the release time and now record time, and here's his analysis. John Michael, let's talk about the surprise that we had in the acreage report regarding the corn plantings.
We did. Corn plantings came in higher than expected, 1.5 million acres higher than the pre-analyst expectation, and also higher than the June World Ag Supply and Demand report that USDA projection on acreage. It actually came in just a touch higher than the prospective plantings report, which came out in March. So quite a surprise there in the corn market, especially given the thought that due to the weather, due to the rain that was being experienced through the Corn Belt and the flooding that has been taking place here in Mississippi and elsewhere in the nation, there was this expectation that there was going to be some corn acres lost. It appears, though, that producers put the pencil to the paper and saw that corn was still worthwhile to go ahead and take a chance on and get that seed in the ground.
And you tell me the market reaction so far in these first 3 hours or so since the report, we've had a tumble in prices.
Yeah, it's been quite gloom and doom in the corn pit today. Down limit is for the most part across most contracts. So yeah, the report is being digested, and it's quite a rough day there in Chicago.
So do you expect corn prices to continue down here? We're just about to starting a new month, July here.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, my guess is just as good as any. But I think that this report is quite a bit of a shock, and we could continue to see somewhat of a downtrend. But I think long-term picture, when you put these numbers into the balance sheet for corn, we're still looking at a really tight supply situation. You know, somewhere in the 7 to 7.5% stocks to use if you put this acreage number in, and so that's still pretty tight. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind as we digest this report.
Now, we also had the grain stocks report on Thursday. Now, that was bearish for corn as well.
That's right. The market was expecting somewhere in just above 3 billion bushels of corn in stock, and it came in at 3 1/3 billion bushels. So not only higher than expectation, but even outside the high range on that expectation. So yeah, that just adding insult to injury there.
And turning to soybeans very quickly, kind of a different picture compared to corn. Let's begin with the acreage number.
That's correct. A little bit higher than the expected in terms of the pre-analyst expectation, about 1.3 million acres higher. But if we look to the grain stocks report, that number was actually a little higher than expected. So there appears to be more soybeans in stock, but the acreage number came in actually, a little bit lower than expected.
Thursday's report also answered a major question as far as another commodity. That question, how much long-grain rice acreage was lost due to the flooding in Arkansas and Mississippi? Some trades had reported a feeling that up to 200,000 acres or more didn't get planted even before the major flood, or that if it did get planted, it was much later than normal. Well, the average price of diesel fuel drops even more as summer gets in full swing. Last week alone, it fell 6 cents per gallon, hitting its lowest level in almost 4 months. The U.S. Energy Administration reported that the average price of diesel was $3.88 per gallon for the week ending June 27th. That is the 7th decline in the last 8 weeks. Moving over to the trivia quiz for the week, it is about cattle, so let's take a look. What is the top cattle-producing county in Mississippi? Your choices are Chickasaw, Hinds, Walthall, or Covington. I'll tell you that answer coming up. USDA's quarterly hogs and pigs report on June 24th shows the U.S. herd was a little larger than expected. One analyst says this factor may weigh on cash and futures prices over the next few months. Purdue University ag economist Chris Hurt points to the 3% increase in the 120 to 179 pound supply. Hurt says this probably provides a little bit more pork coming to the marketplace over the next 3 to 4 months. He does acknowledge that price direction could depend more on trade and the national economy, since the increase was relatively small. Well, switching to cattle, some analysts are concerned about what they term uncertain areas of the beef market these days. Traders agree demand is good, with the 4th of July retail side providing support. However, analyst Jamie Kohaki says that short term, in his opinion, You've got to be a hedger in this market because of all the unknowns.
Supply is still very, very tight. Fundamentals remain strong out there into next year. But I think short term, if you can get a break even and lock in a profit, I think you hedge it. There's way too many uncertain areas out there that have influences on cattle. Unemployment, how the S&P, Dow trade every day, way too many spillover factors that could pull this thing back down in no time at all.
The June U.S. catfish processing report indicates that prices for producers are continuing to climb. The average pondback price being paid to U.S. producers during May was $1.17 per pound. Now that is 37 cents per pound higher than it was a year ago. Farm sales totaled over 24 million pounds round weight, a decrease of 35% from May 2010. Processor sales were over 12.5 million pounds. That is down 34% from 1 year ago. Well, our time for the markets is winding down, so we'll move to the answer for this week's trivia quiz now. The first choice, A, is the correct one. Chickasaw County ranks first in the number of all cattle and calves in Mississippi. The total in January, according to the National Ag Statistics Service, was 49,500 head.